We are at the last day, day 7 of CS101. Today we have cybersecurity, introduction to cybersecurity by the experts, I would say, Tarunika and Gomati, who are third years in the CSE department of our college. We have a fun-filled session ahead for you guys. I hope the previous sessions were fruitful to you and the activities were fun. I take this opportunity to welcome you all again and thank you for attending in large numbers. And I would now give the stage over to Gomati and Taranika to kick off the event.
Today's criminals don't leave fingerprints. They can't be identified in a lineup. The cyber landscape has changed the game. Cyber criminals target information and threaten our way of life. Prepare to defend against their attacks. Arm yourself with information, encryption techniques, software, and ask yourself, when security is compromised, will you know how to control and neutralize the threat?
So that was just the intro to the buffer video. Let's get into the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. So it's nice to see you all here, and this is Tarunika. Me and Gomati will be taking over the session, and we'll be going ahead with introducing you to the cybersecurity domain, and we'll be learning a lot of cool stuff today. Yes. So coming to the first question of why cybersecurity, right? We actually, when we take in news or when we go to Google, we find a lot of data breaches happening, a lot of incidents taking place. And we would like to first mention a few activities or events that actually happened, which emphasis on the need of cybersecurity. So moving on to the next slide here, we see there are four pictures, right? So if you look at the first row, second picture, we see that the increase of cybersecurity, the increase of cyber crime on an yearly basis, and we can see the numbers have hugely raised from 2009 to 2018, right? And this picture in the second row, first one, which shows about the dominoes. Well, it's actually there was an incident wherein almost 13 terabytes of employee files and customer details were taken by the hackers, and they also wanted money as returns. It's called ransomware basically. We'll get into the details later. And recent data breaches, here it says about the statistics of different companies and how much they've lost because of cyber crime. So now getting into the question, what is cyber security? I would like you all to take the chat box and type down what comes to your mind with the term cyber. Okay, computers, internet, web. All right, good. Yeah, pretty much similar. Even I have the same visualization when it comes to cybers, like IT department, computers, a big server room, something like that, right? So we are basically securing our systems. So if we are securing our systems, what's the first thing that we are supposed to address? What is it that we are securing our systems from? What possibly could be the ones? That is what is all about cyber attacks. We are securing our systems through various attacks that can happen, possibly to our systems, to our laptops, PCs, devices, etc. So if we have attacks, we need to first know what these attacks do and how they grow or how to handle them in order to secure our systems, right? So we first have to get an idea of what these attacks are and what possibly how could they harm us. So let's get into that first. So as we see, there are two types of attacks. First one is called the web-based attack, and the second one is called system-based attack. Just based on the terms, can someone differentiate what they could be? What could be the difference between them, just based on the name? Anybody can just unmute or use the chat box, that's fine.
Web-based is for web applications and system-based are mostly for machines.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, exactly.
System-based, it's not in the operating system. The local area.
Yeah, right. Yeah. System-based is basically attacking your hardware or your system as such, whereas web-based attacks is going to come from your websites or through the web basically. Basically from your websites or web applications, etc. So that will be the source of the attack. So let's get into the different types of attack under each of these. First one is the web-based attack. So as we can see in the picture, there are a lot of attacks here. I would be taking up the most common and the most important ones and explaining them. The rest is up to you to search on the Google and know what they actually do. It's a small, small activity just like that. So the first one that we will be talking about is phishing. So what happens in phishing is that basically the person who is trying to get sensitive information from you, the person usually tries to get your password, your credentials, probably your login IDs, etc. Some very sensitive information that you have, and it's basically by replicating some confidential thing that you believe is right. That is, for example, a very basic example is that we have Vasanta Bhavan Hotel, right? And there are places where it's called Sri Vasanta Bhavan or any other name where the other extra part of the name is like basically in small letters so that we don't see it. It's similar, it's very similar to that. You have the actual mail format of a particular organization, but they alter it very minorly that we don't find the difference and we tend to think it is a legit mail, it's not going to affect you or something like that. So that's how the phishing actually takes place. They deceive us by making us believe them. That is all about phishing. Now coming to the man in the middle attack, well, there is a man in the middle. Where is he in between whom and what is he middle? What is he in between? So basically, there is a server and there is a client, and the man is going to be between these two. What is going to happen between the server and the client is basically there is going to be messages sent and received, right? So if he is in the middle, he's basically having the access to these messages. He can alter them, manipulate them, delete. He can do whatever he wants with them. So that is what is man in the middle attack. Next is SQL injection threat. Well, if you all know that there are HTML pages and behind them there is a lot of code behind all these web pages, and there is also database management systems which uses SQL to get the data from. So when you inject SQL, like when you do this SQL injection attack, you basically alter few stuffs of the code that makes the website behave differently and not the same way it should be actually working. So that is what is SQL injection attack. Next one is distribution denial of service attack. Well, it's a service attack. What generally in the computer network gives us services? Can someone answer that? Basically, in the network system, we have PCs, a basic layout of response and the request cycle. So what generally gives the services to us? The server, right? The server would basically help us by giving it services. It will it will give us response to our request and all. So if it is denying the service to us, what is happening over there? What could be the possible reasons that it is denying the service to us? Either the service could, I mean, the server could be down, or it is currently handling a lot of requests that it is asking us to wait for a certain time and it cannot address it now. So what happens here is the second option, guys. The hacker or the person who's trying to disturb the server is going to flood the server with a lot of requests so that the request coming from your side is not going to, addressed by the server immediately. It will take pretty long time. So basically your server is going to be unresponsive to your request. That is what is distribution of denial service. And next service that next attack that we'll be talking about is ransomware attack. Basically here the hacker or the person who is behind the attack would take in some confidential information from your site and would demand some amount, that is ransom, from you, so that in return he would give back the information that he collected from you. That is all about the major web-based attacks. And there are other few like AI-powered attacks, eavesdropping attacks, drive-by attacks, cross-site scripting, and a lot more to say, which I would really encourage you to go Google and learn more about those. Now moving on to the next one, which is system-based attacks. We have several system-based attacks, out of which these are just a few of them. And starting off with viruses, basically these are very malicious software programs that get installed in your computer and they replicate within your system as and when you keep doing some certain kind of actions. And they're going to basically disturb your system entirely in a while. And worms are also similar to viruses, but it is that it also affects the unaffected computers with the same network to say, but more or less the same. Next one is the Trojan horse. Well, in Trojan horse, actually, what happens is that a malicious program gets into your system without your knowledge. A background program will be running without your knowledge. Eventually, in a while, your system settings, basic system settings would have changed because the hacker has taken control of your system, and your system will start behaving very abnormally and will not go as per your wishes or your requests. it'll be in someone else's control. That is what basically the Trojan horse is going to do. The next one that I would like to talk about is adware. Basically, if we visit some certain websites, we observe a lot of ads popping up here and there. And basically, I was advised by my parents. I'm not sure if you were also advised that do not click on the unnecessary ads, right? That's something that always parents have told us when we started using computers. So basically, there are some malicious programs that activate when you click on certain ads, which is called adware, and they do affect your system's hardware. And next, coming to the spyware. Basically, the spyware is a program which spies your, it gets into your cookies, gets your information as well, and they could use it for ransom, or they could use it to any other purpose that they want to. And the other kinds of attacks here, that is remote access, blended threat, rootkit, exploit kit, all these things I would request you to go Google and learn them.
Exactly. Don't get worried about these terms, guys. They're just some, they might seem really hi-fi, but when you actually look at the definition, they are very simple things that you would actually seen on your internet life so far. And someone had a question about DDoS, right? So just to give you an example, this denial of service attack, whenever a server is down, you would have commonly seen this error, right? 404 not found. Whenever sometimes when you go to a website, you might see this error of 404 not found. So that is basically when a server is down, or it's not currently able to service your request. So whenever you click on a website, you're basically sending a request to the particular server to service you. And when it's down or when it's overloaded, right, it cannot service you and you get such errors. And how does it generate? Tarunika, do you want to take that up?
Yeah, basically there is a system like, bot is, that's what they call it as botnet. It's basically in simple terms. Usually computers or other PCs are connected via network. So if you have to give fake requests to servers, what generally hackers do is that they infect a PC. That is what is like, infected PC, and probably 3 or 4 or a connection of or a collection of PCs they infected, and they send fake requests through those PCs. So generally, if you see, if there are 15 PCs in the network and 5 of them are infected, those 5 would be sending almost 5,000 requests, whereas the others would be just, normally sending 1 or 2. So that is how in one way they create fake requests, or, explode a lot of requests at one time to the server.
Right. Can't we have a server farm if there are many users? Yeah, the design of the servers, that is not what we are talking about. Yeah, you can have a server farm. For example, IRCTC itself, right? You can either have a server farm, or you can just host it on the cloud. Right now, if you see, all the major websites will be hosted on the cloud, like Google Cloud and Amazon. No, let's not get too deep into that now.
Yeah, so before we get into the more details about the threats and attacks and such, let's see how cybersecurity came into place. So when first we started with internet and such, we know that ARPANET was the first ever internet sort of thing to be created, right? We all read about this in 11th and 12th. ARPANET was created for research purposes to create a communication layer, for like communication platform between researchers. So when ARPANET was created, and in its early ages, there was one worm that was created, and it was called the creeper. So technically, this wasn't called worm at that time. It had no malicious intent, and it was just created for a fun experiment. So one of the researchers made a message that says, "I am the creeper, catch me if you can," and it created several users on the ARPANET too, and made them receive it. And this was one of the first registered worm that ever happened. So after this, we had the Morris worm that actually affected a lot of people, and it actually, what happened was that this worm was made again not with malicious intent, but when it was created, it started reproducing the same code again and again, making the system crash. So this not only attacked, but it ended up turning into a code that reproduces itself and affects the computers that it comes in contact with. So that was the first DOS attack, that is denial of service. And as Tarunika said, it denies the service by taking up the resources of the computer. And the next one is PC Cyborg Trojan. So this was a very interesting malware that was actually handed out to people in floppy disk in malls in UK. And people were not very aware of cybersecurity at that time, so they literally just ran it, and that ended up corrupting a lot of people's networks. And again, Trojan, as we know, it seems like an innocent software, and once you install it, it takes up your resources or it attacks your resources, either one of those. And yeah, so after this, UK government actually had to pass one of its first laws related to cybersecurity. So you could say that PC Cyborg Trojan actually paved the way to start including cybersecurity in the laws of governments. SSL is one of the first security measures that was brought up, secure socket layer, and that set the first step towards securing internet. And the I love you worm was spread when in Windows became a very famous OS, and people started to have more personal computers. So before this, computers were a rarity and they were only used in institutions or by researchers and such. But once Windows came into play, people started buying their own personal computers and their own personal mail servers in their laptops. So sorry, in their desktops. And this I love you virus was worm was just a mail that was sent to people, and once you open them, it sends the same mail to everybody in your contact. It was technically harmless, but again, if you are not intending to send it and if it sends it against your will, it's cybersecurity threat. And Anonymous, of course, this became very famous last year. It's a group of activists who take up vigilante justice by using their cybersecurity skills to hack and produce information from government and other places. This is not ethical hacking. They do malicious hacking, that is cracking, which is harmful. And yeah, so Anonymous was actually very powerful during the early 2000s, and they again reappeared last year during the BLM movement. And after 2000s, there was a series of attacks, newer and newer attacks, such as WannaCry, Stuxnet, and WikiLeaks. WannaCry was attack on the hospital databases, and the two, Stuxnet and WannaCry, are ransomwares that holds the database encrypted and won't let them access it unless they pay the ransom for it. Stuxnet was an attack on Iran government, and WikiLeaks was a data breach of the US government's most important documents. And there were actually a lot of documentaries on WikiLeaks about Snowden and such. So this is just the beginning of the history of cybersecurity. Even though cybersecurity has not been around even for 100 years or barely a century, there is so many things that is happening in cybersecurity land. And yeah, let's get into it further.
Exactly. Ever since computers and internet started coming, barely 2-3 decades, right? So obviously, how in the real world we need security for our houses, now we need security for our virtual houses, that is our computers. That's why, all these, as it got popular, obviously the negative aspect of crime should also get popular, and that again tells you why cybersecurity is needed. Now we'll be watching a short YouTube video.
Another shot.
Has that been open the whole time?
Look at the B and the bike on a logo.
Seen the other side of the room.
Oh, is that my twin? Oh, it's a fake front.
It's exactly the same.
What the hell?
I've had people walking past like, what are two Brompton stores doing right opposite each other?
So weird.
Like, I feel like I'm in some parallel universe.
That's the couple who were just in here, right?
Yeah.
They brought a bike.
They walked in from here.
And then they went over there.
Type in their website.
I'm really confused.
Go walk over there.
We just wondered what was going on. He was like, do you want to test out one of our bikes? No. They've got the same tags as us.
They're having those of Bromptons delivered into their shop.
What?
What's happening?
I think these are our...
Delivery, this 146.
You sure this isn't delivery for over in the inside room?
Brompton. No, it's here, mate.
Are you Brompton?
No, Brompton.
No, I can't even do it. What the hell? All right, we've got customers.
Hold on.
Hi, guys.
price are in a Brompton? How many cars?
How much do they weigh?
£840. Super real leather.
Bigger tyres. Give us a demonstration.
There's a couple of different methods.
Sorry, just 1 second.
How many parts actually work? Yes, stand back a second. Componentry, materials.
Gary, what's the smallest size?
You don't want the mudguards to take them off?
See you later. Bye-bye. See you.
What was that?
The guy said, tell me your favourite 3 things about the tyre.
What the hell is going on?
We're getting close down.
Really? What should we do?
Whoa.
What are you doing? Can you take the sign down, please?
This is not okay.
The fact that you don't know what to do in that situation, it's daunting, really.
It's one thing if you see it online, but as you see it right in front of you, it kind of really brings it home that this is happening probably everywhere with every brand.
I was in so much shock, I was just going to take my t-shirt off and just walk out. I was like, what is going on? Like,
To see the company that you work for being undermined like that kind of really makes it real.
Every hack in this film is based on real criminal methods. If you fall victim, Hiscox will get you back up and running fast. Hiscox, experts in small business insurance.
Right. Now, how was that video, guys? Anyone wants to unmute and give us a small gist, maybe? So basically, there were 4 hacks that they talked about. So this is an analogy of real-world scenario that can, happen in the real world as well as in the cyber world. Right. So basically, to give you a brief summary, right? First is ID theft. Where you mark or you create a markup where you try to create a copy of a particular brand. Then 2, you stage yourself as that brand, and you get the benefits or you get the customers and the stock that is actually meant for the original brand to yourself. Third, in that process you fake customers to intimidate them, and you have that's basically what phishing is. And fourth, you actually lock their business or the computer and demand for ransom. Yeah, moving on.
So let's see the 3 things that are important to avoid attack, vulnerability, and threats. So confidentiality is basically making sure that only the people who are supposed to access the particular thing are allowed to access it. And integrity is making sure that whatever document that you are having, a document or any material that you're having online, is not accessed by somebody and modified by somebody who's not supposed to modify it. What material that you are receiving from somebody should be as it is, as it was sent. And availability is making sure that the things that you're allowed to access are available 24/7. So these 3 things form the basis of cybersecurity. And based upon it, we have a whole layer of cybersecurity. So without going into much detail, the outermost layer would be the human layer. That is us, people who are protecting the systems. And we are also the weakest link when it comes to cybersecurity. As you know, most of the cybersecurity starts with social engineering, where people talk to the people who are responsible of cybersecurity systems and get information from them. So we are the weakest link, and aside from human layer, we have perimeter security, which is basically protection for both the physical and digital securities. And then we have network security. Here we move further into the the computer part of it rather than the physical aspect of it. These are protocols that are implemented to make sure the network is secure. And then we have endpoint security, which controls the connection between the devices and the network and make sure that you are protecting the endpoints that are connected to the network. And application security controls the access to an application, and it controls the application's access to your mission critical assets and the internal security of the application. So beyond this, we have data security. Data security controls and protects the storage and transfer of data. And this is the data that is stored inside whatever that you are protecting in your cybersecurity system. And the top most important thing is the mission critical asset. This is the data that you need to protect. So as I was saying, if you see your opponent having a particular opening, like say a bishop that is not being covered by some other lower coin. So if it's not being protected, you can easily attack it. So that is a vulnerability. So what would you do? You would try to move to attack that particular thing. So maybe you would move one of your pawn in front, and it might not be a direct attack, but it could just move you towards attacking it. So now that is a threat. It might not have attacked them or affected them in any way, but it is a move towards exploiting the vulnerability. And after that, if you do move your bishop and move your pawn and move and attack that particular bishop and take it out of the playing field, now that is a carried out threat, and that would be an attack. There are different types of attacks and different types of vulnerabilities. And the CAA triad comes into play here. Vulnerabilities are three types: corrupted, leaky, and unavailable. Corrupted is basically the absence of confidentiality. Your data is corrupted and it has been accessed by people who are not allowed to access it. Sorry, that is leaky. The access by people who are not supposed to access it, data leak and such. So corrupted would be the absence of integrity, which means the data that is only supposed to be seen by you and sent by some other person has been accessed in between and modified such that the data is no longer the same. And unavailability would be the your data not being available, not in your reach, or you're not able to access it. This could be something like ransomware and such. And attacks could be of four types: active, passive, inside, and outsider. So active attack could actively seek to damage your system and your data, whereas passive attack could be just to get inside your system and spy on your information and gather information and leave no damages behind, rather than exploiting the information that you have there. Outsider attack is attack from outsiders, whereas insider attack is obviously attack from the inside, where people already have access to your system and you misuse it in a bad way. Okay, so now that would be a better continuation with the rest of the things. Let's go for a myth breaking session. So there are multiple myths surrounding cybersecurity. The number one would be that we are too small and we could not be hacked. And sadly, that is true. And as he was talking in the beginning, a lot of us could be a part of this data breaches and such. So if you go to this website, would anybody like to give me your email to put here? Probably not. That would not be wise. So let's say I put my own college email ID.
Generate a random email, right?
I can, but would you know if it's credible?
Should be an existing email ID.
Yeah, you can technically go get a temporary email and run it, but what is the fun?
Right.
But like try out this link to find out if your information is part of any data breach in the past, right? So you have to you can just give your email ID to check if you were a victim of any data breach in the past. So this website, if you give your email ID or phone number, it would say if it has been leaked on the internet at any time. So as you can see on the screen, her college email ID is not leaked. Maybe try giving my email ID. It's JAGA.
Yeah, 1 second. JAGA.
DEE.
DEE.
SH.
SH.
RAM.
RAM.
D as in dog. At gmail.com. I am sure that this would have been leaked in the Domino's data breach, right? Yeah. See,
so you have been a part of 3 data breaches.
My email has been, Big Basket, Canva, and Domino's India. So you guys can, give your own emails and phone numbers and check if you were a victim of any data breaches. And you can see how nicely it gives in what all data breaches your data has been leaked in. Right. Yeah. Just to get that myth cleared up, guys, we are not too small. Even, cyber crimes can happen to us as individuals.
And a lot of us also have this feeling that, what if they get this information? They can't do anything with it. But your email ID could be used for anything. So if your bank account is linked to your email ID, or if you're using the same password as you use in your backup email for your main email, then all of your resources are in attack. So it's better to be safe. Okay, so myth number 2 is that cybersecurity is a very hard and competitive field, and that you need extensive coding knowledge and a presence of mind and such. Presence of mind is important, that is not a myth, but you don't need to know extensive coding knowledge to get into it. In fact, the things that you actually need are a good amount of computer network knowledge and a good amount of knowledge in Linux operating systems, and using the terminal in Linux and terminal commands and such. Yeah. So number 3, cyber threats always come from external sources, and mostly it's not external. Usually you need some sort of information from the inside. So whenever there is a cyber attack, it mostly has some sort of vulnerabilities on their side, or some sort of insider access that is allowing the external sources to attack. And number 4, a strong password is enough. We may let Google produce a strong password and save it in our Google password manager, or we might have one strong password that we put for everything, which is qualifying for one thing. That is, it does provide a strong password, but would that be enough? No. Hackers can easily access your Google password manager, so it's very wise not to save your passwords. But even if you do save them, make sure that you don't have the same password for all of them.
Now we'll be getting into cyber forensics. So basically, in real time crime scenarios, when a murder is done, usually the forensic department is called in to collect all evidences, fingerprints, etc. So similarly, if a cyber crime is done, cyber forensics, there is a department for cyber forensics also as a division in the same domain. So they generally get into the spot, identify what kind of attack it was, and then try to preserve whatever data is left and do backup necessary, backup stuffs, and do all the necessary things to at least prevent the loss of data of the other systems or other networks. And they extract information, and they document it, and finally their idea is to find the person who has been behind all this attack. And you know that's the ultimate thing what you can do once an attack is made, unless there is another choice of getting them punished or something wherein we have loss for them. So the first step would be finding the person, and so the next step would be try getting to have it fair. So getting into the laws that protect us, and those laws, especially of India. Can we move on to the next slide, please? Yes. So there are a few cyber laws in India. I've just taken the prime ones so that we, quickly we can go through what each one does and helps, how it helps us. So as we can see, according to the cyber laws in India, what they define a hack is basically, if you read the first statement of the picture, it says whoever with the intent to cause or knowing that he is likely to cause wrongful loss or damage to the public or any person destroys or deletes or alters any information residing in a computer resource or diminishes its value of utility or affect it injuriously by any means commits hack. So this is what our system defines a hack to be like. And so what do they give us like, what do they suggest in punishment is that they can serve in prison, or they can also give a fine of that can go up to 2 lakhs. So this is the basic idea of what is like defined as a hack by a system, and what generally in general terms, without talking with respect to the severity of the crime, this is what our system punishes the people who are trying to hack into systems. So getting into section 43, what it says is that by using section 43, if somebody has destroyed any particular, your hardware has been damaged, or your systems, some components have been damaged by some malicious programs, you can claim the full amount for the loss. That is what section 43 talks about. Section 66 is the same section 4. People who are coming under section 43 will also come under section 66, but they'll also have to be paying a fine amount, or some amount to the government, which is like based on the severity of what they've committed. That is what is 66. Now, what does 66B tell us is that this goes up to 1 lakh fine. 66B allows us to, allows the person to go till 1 lakh fine, and also 3 years of imprisonment is also possible. And this basically, deals with fraudness, or cheating, copying of signatures, certain kind of things like digital copying of certificates, signature, etc. 66C is a higher version of B. It goes up to 3 lakhs. That is the severity in 66C. And finally, the 66D tells us about exactly to say if it's an imposter who has been found doing the same thing several times in different localities. For some people who have a well-established network, they come under 66D, basically a bigger, higher level of the same crime, I would say. That is what all these are about. Next, Indian Penal Code IPC suggests the following sections for the following commits like forgery, as I said, like forgery of documents, signature, and all other digital imprints that they can do, certifications, many other things which are possible. So that comes under 464, and then cheating comes under 468. As I said, false documentation. There are like overlapping laws, but still they have few differences among them that probably lawyers would understand. And these are the major, actually, the ones which are like the key in cybersecurity laws of India. So having said that, reporting crimes, cyber crimes in India, how does this take place? So basically, majorly in India, it is said as per statistics that the major crimes happen by money laundering, either through your credit card, your bank account details, and basically all other means wherein they can get access to your money. So if suppose you fall a victim to such, what are you supposed to do is that you're immediately, usually banks these days freeze your account once higher amount of money is taken from it. But otherwise, if you're in an organization or anywhere else, usually first step is like freezing the account or freezing the system. Second is that you make an FIR complaint as soon as this happens, instead of you searching the attacker or trying to figure out what happened. The immediate step is usually registering the FIR next. Thirdly, the local police, after the FIR registration, they will hand it over to the cyber cell department, where the cyber forensics team would come into the picture. So moving on to the next slide. Actually, if in case you're not a part of an organization or anybody who could take care of your account or can take actions for you, if you're not in that place, and if it's an attack personally on you, and you have to report it individually, there is no group representing you, then you have this National Cyber Crime Reporting Portal of Indian government, which I think the link has been put up in the chat box. So you can go make a complaint here, and there is also helpline numbers available in the website if you could go, and it's open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Of the daytime. So here is where you can register your complaints and move forward with whatever the procedure they tell you about. This is how, basically, if you are under attack, is how you must be operating as per the government laws.
So let's get a little, hands-on.
New revolutionary technologies are still to come. Thanks to the Fugal, you can already pay with your fingerprint. And this is just the beginning. The present, the future, the Fugal.
Okay, that would be all. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that.
Dave, listen, I know this is very important to the future for Fugal, but I'm a little concerned that we should spend more time addressing the security issues.
What do you mean by security issues? Are there any?
Not yet, at least none that we know about. The thing is, I'm not 100% convinced that the application is completely secure.
We are revolutionizing the mobile payments market. I'm sure we'll run into some small problems, but you and I together can surely handle it, right? Let's play. The success of this project is in your hands. Every choice you make will have an outcome on the success and the security of Fugal Incorporated. What should we do?
Yeah, okay, so it's up to you guys now to decide what we can do.
I hope everybody got a good idea of what happened in the video. Do you want a summary?
Yeah, maybe if you could just give a couple lines about it.
Okay, so basically it's an app launching meeting that happened in the start. So this guy in the video here in the screen right now, he's launching his app or something. He's basically launching it for social, to publicly to everyone. And as the meeting is over, everybody is gone. The security manager rushes to this guy and says that I'm not so confident about releasing it now. I think there'll be some problems with the security. He says we haven't, there is nothing much to worry about it, and if it comes, we can, handle it then. That's what he says. And then they have a discussion about what to do next. And now it's these three options that you have to pick one. He says like the rest success of the story is about it's on us. Let's take it as A, B, or C. You can either unmute your mic or put it in the chat box. We'll play along with that. Okay, someone says option 3. Srinidhi says option 3. There's one for option B as well. A. Okay, now it's a tie.
Yes.
Let's go with A.
Yeah. So let's outsource.
We are outsourcing the app now for security reasons.
Look, if it's such a concern, let's engage an external audit of the code. This way they can work on it and we don't have to waste our own cycles.
Okay, so let's meet with the team and we'll discuss who we can pull in.
Sounds good.
Dave, thanks for giving us your time. Yeah, sure. We were just going over some of the possible options.
Okay, so what are our options?
Well, if we want to make sure to outsource the job to someone to do the code audit for us, we have to make the right decision.
No, of course. What options are on the table? What do you recommend?
Well, we have these guys who've worked with us before. They've never done anything this big, just small bits and pieces, things we didn't want to deal with. They should be able to handle this, though. They're not terribly expensive, and the benefit is, you know, they've worked with us before, they know how we work, so there's not much training involved.
Okay, that sounds reasonable.
Then we have TechSpec, you know, the guys that do the federal online services? Yeah. They definitely know what they're doing. They work with the very best. And they'll be worth every cent that we spend on them. We'll just be spending a lot of cents.
Okay, how much exactly?
Quite a lot, actually. And finally, this new thing. A bunch of InfoSec researchers, they went freelance and founded this company, IT Freaks. Anyway, they're the most affordable of the bunch, and according to Danny, they should be able to do the job fast and do it relatively well.
Okay, now if we know our options.
So now each option will take up its own amount of resources. Okay.
Do you want a summary again, or can we proceed with the options, guys?
We can just have some 2 lines if the video broke for some.
Okay, so basically the summary of this video is that we have actually planned to outsource it, right? So the security manager is coming up with 3 options to whom we could outsource it to. The first option is a group of team who has already worked and they're not pretty much good about what they do, but still they're a nice option because they're not that costly to bring in. They are a bit cheap and they also know what is happening in the project. Second is the people who are actually working for the security systems of federal police and government. So they actually know what they're doing, but they're very expensive to call in. The third is like moderately affordable, and they are a startup. So these are the 3 options.
And also, if we do take the higher ones, we might not have the resources in case we have much more things to attend to. But if we take a very cheap one, it might lead to much more problems during launch.
So basically, each option is associated with a different number of red balls, which is your money. So basically, you'll have to spend it twice as well. Okay, I can see there are C options, 2, B, C. Okay, I guess most of them say C.
Let's go to C.
Yeah.
You know what, the freelancers work butts off. Choose them.
Roger, Danny knows all of these guys, so we can get him on board in just a matter of hours.
Okay. Hey, Randall.
Good morning, Dave. I'm afraid we've got a bit of a situation here.
What do you mean, situation?
The IT team has uncovered evidence that we're under some sort of targeted attack. Whoever's behind this is after credentials using some very credible social engineering. It looks like a number of our employees were sent emails that appear to come from the help desk telling them to renew their passwords.
Damn. All right, how badly were we hit?
Well, not that badly at all, actually. Our web gateway detected and blocked the malicious URLs. So we're safe for now.
Okay, great. So everything's fine. Man, you almost gave me a heart attack.
I said we're safe for now. I think we should look at how third parties access our internal systems. See if that same email went out to any of them and they were compromised, then so would we.
All right, so you guys did great, but you're right. If somebody wants to get in, they're gonna. Where are our weak points?
Well, we can try segmenting the network network.
Okay, but I'm guessing that's not 100% attack-proof.
Nothing's 100%. I mean, our weak point is still movable data, USB sticks, CDs, that kind of thing. Data has to go from one place to another.
Okay, so that's a long-term project. What else do we have?
Well, I would suggest extending a two-factor authentication to cover those same contractors.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just wondering if we can afford to spend that much money, you know, particularly with the launch and everything.
Well, if you don't want to spend any money at all, we can use our internal Active Directory to enforce stricter access policies.
So again, they did find some problem with their system that allowed outsiders to get into their mail database and send emails to them. So now they want to secure their, their system. So which option can they go to?
What does segmenting the network mean?
Right, segmenting the network is okay. Let's take an example. So in our college, right? Let's say you have 3 labs and 3 computer labs, let's say, and each lab has 50 computers. Now you can form a network with all of these 50 into 3, 150 computers all in the same network, or you can segment them or separate them by having a network for each of these 3 labs, and then finally connect basically sub networks, and then maybe finally connecting that to a main network. So segmenting a network is basically dividing up the networks and separating them. Is there anything?
Okay, I get it.
Like basically the departments in our college, they work differently independently and they're all connected in one branch, like
Right,
on a one group.
exactly. You have CSE department, you have EC, you have all these different departments. So each of them, each of those
10 PCs in one group, another 10 in another. So you'll have different groups of PCs, and basically subnet is what gives them the separation in simple terms, and they'll all be connected on one big network. That is what is segmentation.
Okay, fine.
And one advantage of that would be, let's say in one department or in one sub network there is some malicious thing going on, you can like quickly unlink it from the main network connection, so that it doesn't spread to the other sub networks as well. Maybe you can think in that terms.
I can see B, A, lot of B's than A. Yeah, I guess we should be going with B, then people have chosen B. Yeah.
If the two-factor authentication works for them, it'll work for us. Let's do it.
Okay, consider it done. There's one more thing I wanted to talk to you about. I'm worried about our data security in general. I strongly suggest we start encrypting our intellectual property as well. This could be industrial espionage.
Okay, it has to be the right choice. Data security is important, but I don't have an unlimited budget. I need to be sure that our investment is addressing the real risk.
So now he's acting upon a possible threat. So it's not happening yet, but he is worried that there could be a possible espionage and they need to do something about it. So there are 2 options. We can either ensure that we are fully compliant and just move on with it, or we can sit and encrypt all the intellectual property so that it cannot be, spied upon or stolen.
Okay, there is 1B for the time being. 2B.
I have a doubt.
Same person. Yeah.
So these funds are actually just for the security purpose, right?
Funds
These
in the
funds,
game, you mean?
Yeah, the game. I mean, I'm talking about the game credits only. These 5 credits which we got, it is just for the security purpose, or are we gonna launch it later on?
No, it's
Something
only for
else.
security purpose. So at this level, you would be asked a question related to the cybersecurity of that particular product, but you need these resources in case there is a future emergency related to cybersecurity.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Okay,
see a lot of B's.
Yeah, it's B then.
All right.
Encrypt all the intellectual
But
property.
remember now that we would be running out of our resources. Yeah.
We have emptied it.
We have 0 resources. Let's see what happens.
It's got to be encrypted all. Just remember that my budget isn't unlimited, and after this, the pot is getting empty.
Thanks, boss. I'm sure it'll be money well spent. I hate to bring it up, considering the budget and all.
What else?
Well, I think we should invest in some breach detection technology. Remember that deep discovery POC we did last year? It's a new approach to security, and with this targeted attack is a new challenge. Failing that, we can have a look at our existing technology, see what else is out there.
A technology refresh?
Exactly. Get some RFIs out there, make sure we have the best of breed firewalls, anti-malware, intrusion prevention, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, so now we are out of this, so we do have only one option.
Security manager is responsible for
But at,
control and monitoring with current tools.
but at this point, what do you guys think would be? I mean, we can only choose C, but what do you guys think would be the better option at this stage? A, B, or C?
Yeah, if we have
If we have
point
resources.
2 points earlier, then we can be going with.
Let's see. Let me have a quick question here. In the previous part of the session, we saw 4 myths, right? So with respect to Pramit's question, what if the guy is playing a double game? Which myth or what does it relate to? Let's see if you guys remember.
Then input one and
Inside.
inner one.
Exactly.
Yeah, sorry.
Insider threat. Yeah, that was right. We saw a myth, right? That not every cyber attack is from an external person. It could be someone doing a double game from within the organization. So that could also be one. After the session, I would like you guys to just Google this term called social engineering. That's like the bread and butter for hackers within double quotes. Social engineering is something that you would find interesting to read about and something that a lot of people feel fall prey to. Yeah, we can go ahead with.
Yeah.
Sorry, but we can't spend 100%. You're gonna have to work with what you already have. I trust you and I trust your team.
Sure thing, not a problem. I gotta get going and make sure everything's running smoothly.
All right, thanks.
Exactly. So this is how it should work. Julian, how many journalists we already have confirmed?
It's going to be a great event. We did a call out this morning, and as far as I know, only Phil from CB4 cancelled. That's a 95% turnout.
And CB4, it's not even our demographic anyway, so. It's a shame, though. He'll miss the app test drive.
Test what?
Oh, I told you about the journalists we have coming to pre-test the app. Just a beta version. Nothing to worry about. High-profile bloggers, tech and lifestyle magazines.
Why didn't I know about this?
Well, you were copied in on the thread.
You CC'd me? This is a really critical matter, this event. The code isn't frozen yet. It hasn't even been fully tested by our own QA guys, and you want to give it to the press? Are you crazy?
I'm sorry, but we thought you were up to speed with this and had no objections. It's a marketing thing. We have to show them something.
Vanessa, listen, I know that you think security is an afterthought, something we can just bolt on when the app is functionally complete, but it's not. Now, I'm not a marketing expert, but I do know that giving something that may be vulnerable to a tech-savvy journalist is inviting disaster.
Well, canceling the press conference is actually making the disaster a certainty. There has to be a middle way.
Okay, we need a plan. This is a game-changing app. Coupled with the Hylar glasses, it's going to revolutionize the industry. But without a proper launch, it might not even take off.
Okay, one says C. Lakshmi Narayana Sai Sriram. Okay, there's another C. Why not wait, guys? Why C? Can someone say?
Yeah. Maybe you can just give a one-liner of what this was about, if someone had lost track in the middle.
Okay, so basically, he's being informed right now that there are people going to come and they're going to release the beta version of the app. But he says even we are ourselves not done with our security checkings and other stuff. So why wasn't I informed about it? And they say that they cannot delay the process of marketing the app. So now it's the choice whether what we choose to do. Either we ask the journalists to wait, or we test the app, or the other one, give them access to the app with limited functionality.
Or you can again, in the option A, you could remove the vulnerable parts that lead you to access the main parts of the base, and just use the ones that don't have any connection to the actual secure things. But yeah, I think most of them are going for C.
Yeah.
Shall we go with C?
We'll go with C.
All right. We can invite them in to pre-test it,
I knew you could be reasoned with.
but only on the devices we provide and on our premises.
It'll do fine. Can you arrange it for next week?
No problem.
Great.
Thank you very much for watching our presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll now leave you in the hands of our capable team. It's really great that we let them come here. We're going to get some great coverage out of this. They love it.
Yeah, you know, it's really Vanessa's call, but I'm just not sure if it was the right thing to do.
No worries. We rock.
Hello?
Ah, hello, Mary. How are you? How did you enjoy the event? Thanks very much for coming.
Thank you.
Mr. Stevens, this is Mary.
Mary Collins.
Skytech Magazine.
Pleased to meet you. The app looks really great. Can I get one of your devices for real-world testing?
Dave?
You know, it's really nice to meet you, but I'm sorry, it's just not possible.
Why not? You want me to write a review, don't you? Well, a proper review means that I tested outside your controlled environment. Does the app actually only work inside your canteen?
Of course not.
So can I take it outside?
So what do you think?
So,
A or B?
they want to take it outside of the controlled environment and try it out in the real world, where they could possibly hack into it. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. There's B. There is A now.
Mary. Can I call you Mary? What you're seeing today is a prototype. When we have the beta program up and running, you'll be the first to know. Julian will take care of that, but until then, nothing leaves the office.
Are you sure?
We have the security of our customers and our partners to consider. It's not all about just the PR. It's about the product. You're not taking us outside. Security matters.
You can test the full functionality of the app whilst you're here. Write all you want about it. I'm sure you're going to love it. Stay as long as you need.
Okay, thanks.
Well played. Really well played.
Am I doing
That's right. Just bought yourself a coffee.
Awesome.
Right, come on, let's go and show you the rest of the office.
You know, I just caught the edge of that thing right there, yeah? Okay. Gotta go check the phone calls, boys. Be right back. Guys, just give me 1 second, all right? Hello?
Hi. Great to hear from you. Finally.
Yeah, I was in a meeting. What's happening?
We're facing a small crisis. We're working on it, and so far I'm pretty sure it's all just a bluff.
Yeah, this blog's claiming to have access to our network, to our crown jewels. It needs thorough investigation. What's your comms plan?
Of course. Well, from a marketing standpoint, at this moment, we can either prepare a reactive statement or...
Or say nothing, right?
Exactly. No comment till we know what's going on, which is basically never a good idea.
All right, well, listen, we can't leave it without a comment because the rumor mill would eat us alive.
Absolutely. We need to get a reactive statement together saying that we treat seriously every claim of this nature and that we are currently carrying out internal investigation to see if there's any substance to it. But I'll need some solid facts from you. Can you give me any guidance when you'll have some detail for me?
Yeah, that's actually my next call. I'll keep you in the loop. Sorry to be brief, but I gotta go.
Of course.
Tell me, what's going on? Did somebody actually steal our data?
No, there's no chance that happened. All our bases are covered. That stuff on Pastebin definitely didn't come from us, and there's been no sign of improper access.
What if someone internal just spoke to the press?
Even if anybody did, it definitely wasn't any of my team.
Well, I never said that.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, we could run a quick data movement check. It won't take long, and it should give us some useful information.
Sounds reasonable, but will the quick scan be enough?
Well, we can try an external forensics team.
That's It's an unwelcome and unexpected expense.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if we do that, we're definitely going to have to reschedule the app launch. But wouldn't it be better just to be safe than sorry?
I just can't believe we can put in this position through hearsay. Damn.
Yeah, he is us.
So again, there are two options.
Yeah.
Don't change
That
the
is the
schedule.
point. This could be them luring us into opening up a vulnerability. True. But again, it doesn't hurt to make sure.
Okay, 3 Bs, 1A. Okay, it's B. It's a clear B here.
Now we can just go ahead with the resources and the rest of the presentation, and we can come back to this at the end, no problem. We can come back to this game. We have 3 more steps. So those of you who are following the game, just keep keep track of what we did till now. And
All right. So now that we saw about this whole thing, let's see some more definitions. It won't be that long, don't worry. So that is this definition of black hat versus white hat. So what exactly is a black hat and a white hat? People who call themselves black hat are basically people who are hacking for their own exploits, and they're usually not ethical, and they usually try to exploit the system and get something for their own benefit. Whereas white hat hackers try to understand the problems in the system, try to hack in and understand what the errors are and try to rectify them. And it actually boils down to hacking versus cracking. Hacking is an ethical way of finding out the insecurities and the vulnerabilities in the system, and it does not damage the data that is present in the system. And the objective is just to use the technical knowledge and provide solutions for the present shortcomings of the system. Whereas cracking is someone who does it for maybe pleasure or some sort of for selfish purposes, such as gaining information, stealing information or such. And they might damage the data internally, and they might do this without the permission, and mostly they would do this without having the legal such things to do so. So now that we have seen a little bit about hacking, this all seems very theoretical and way above our heads. So how do we start with this by ourselves? So the way to get started with cybersecurity and hacking and such would be to ensure that you have a coding experience, and you learn basics of networking, and basics of working with Linux. I think you guys have Linux and Linux commands in first year, right? Yeah. So you can work upon that, and you can learn more about the basic web development stuff. And HTML and now knowledge about HTML, JavaScript and such really comes into play, because you can do a lot with JavaScript, scripts and such. And you can, once you learn all of these things, you can go and do an online course related to your field. There is a lot of things in cybersecurity that you could go for. One of them could be ethical hacking, or you can go further into cryptology and cryptography and such. And there's a lot of fields under cybersecurity. And you can also look more into ethical hacking and such in these sites such as Hack Me or Try Hack Me or Hack This Site. I'm actually, when I was in second year, I tried to learn through Hack This Site and Hack the Box. And personally, I find them to be a very good resource. And I actually plan to show 2 levels of Hack This Site so that you guys could get an idea, because the activity we have planned involves knowing how to hack it. I hope most of you know HTML. Can I have a raise of hands?
in the web development 101 session, we covered a very basic HTML code, guys, like body, head. That's enough. Nothing more than that. Yeah.
So let's try out Hack This Site. So you guys probably know the basics then. So this would be very easy. So we made this to make sure that it's easy for everyone to work with. Oh no. Second. It does look a little bit sketchy, but it is a good site. So you guys, there's a lot of activities here, challenges. So I would have loved to start with one of these things in here where we try to do SQL injections and such. But I thought, we'll start with the basics. So this is level 1. So this is the page. You have to figure out the password. So can you guys tell me what you would do when you are presented with this situation? Where would you start from? You can unmute if you want, or you can give a comment.
We can check the source. Like if you give Control U, I think the page source code will open.
Yeah,
That's
right.
a
Wonderful.
start. Someone also said password.
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe we can use the find and search for the
Yeah,
keyword
okay.
password.
So this is similar to inspect element. In fact, I would suggest you try inspect element more than Control U, because while you can see the source, sometimes the source code could be exhaustive. Yeah. So this would be the code. So let's look through it. Yeah. So do you guys see anything important?
Password's there.
Yeah.
Password.
All right. So this is literally the starting of this thing. 1 second. So while this could seem very simple, it does get harder and harder as it goes. I wanted to take something that could be easy to do from for everybody. So next challenge would be next challenge is something very similar to this. So again, I guess you guys would say me to ask me to do the inspect element again. But again, what do you guys want me to do now that we're in level 2 and there is some more upgrades to this thing? It's still a very simple thing to solve. Yeah, same thing for starters. So yeah, I guess I would give the solution. So we do the inspect element. However, this time there isn't much comments about where the solution is. So, however, you can see that sometimes when people do, PHP and such, they tend to save the passwords or tend to mention the place that where they're storing it in. So here, if you look through this, you can.
Should we enter the password there or?
Yeah, but you would find okay. So basically, I didn't want to give the solution to spoil it, but basically you have another input that is hidden here. Yeah, not a text file, sadly, but that does happen in some higher levels. But you have an input that is hidden, input type hidden. So once you change that to visible, you will be able to see that particular text box here, and it would have the value of the password. So we just have to inspect this code more carefully, but since we don't have time, I will move on to the slides. But if you guys have time, you can go check this out. And I would highly recommend that once you finish the basic mission, you can go on to the realistic missions, which are actually the most important, interesting ones. All right, so moving on with the presentation. Yeah, so these are resources that you can get started with, because sometimes you can't just jump directly into hacking without learning the basics for everything. So I have added some links here. This is learnpython.org, where you can learn simple Python, and you can learn web development in this link, and you can go to hack the site, that is the website that we saw now, to learn more about basics of hacking into easy systems. There are also other links such as vulnhub and hack this box that I would suggest that you try. But yeah, okay, so what are the opportunities that are available once you enter into cybersecurity? So there are a lot of job opportunities, and there is a lot of different varieties in cybersecurity. So penetration testing is basically the same as ethical hacking. So you try to find vulnerabilities in the system, and you identify the weaknesses in that system, and make sure that the data is secure. If there are any vulnerabilities, you test and penetrate that system using the information that you have and the vulnerabilities that you have, and tell it to the people who have the system. That's basically your job when you are going for penetration tester. So if you're a security engineer is does the same almost similar things as security analysts. They help maintain the planning, implementation, and upgrading security measures and control. They monitor security access and they continuously check whether they continuously check whether there are any security issues, and they conduct external security audits to ensure there are no loopholes or evidence of security lapses. And incident responder is basically once there is an emergency, your job would be to go and report to this incident and find out where the vulnerability was and how the attack happened and such. We actually have a game that would be similar to what you would do as an incident responder. It's going to be a part of the activity. We'll talk about that later. So these are some of the jobs that are available once you go into cybersecurity. There is a lot more that is available if you do get in.
So this is just basically a layout of different roles that you get under cybersecurity. So as you can see, the first column is like not the first, the second column is for the entry level roles. The third one goes to the mid level roles, and the last one is advanced level. So say you want to be a cybersecurity engineer, what would be the shift of roles that you need to do to achieve your goal? So that is what this picture is actually telling you about. The feeder role is basically the different roles that we have generally in an organization, in a computer science organization. Basically, you have software development, testing, different departments. So out of which you should be a part of security intelligence initially. And being that in the entry level, you should be a specialist, that is a cybersecurity specialist or a technician. And from there, and as we can see, there are different roles as well in the entry level. You have an analyst or investigator, you have a responder, IT auditor, and several more. But this picture is showing us the roadmap to a cybersecurity engineer. So from here, you would be basically wanting to jump on to the penetration and vulnerability testing. The other roles available in the mid level would be cybersecurity analyst and cybersecurity consultant. So once you be the penetration and vulnerability tester, you are basically the next level that you would probably like to go is cybersecurity engineer. And the other two roles that is available is managerial role or administrator, and the next one is architect. So this is just the basic layout of the different roles and how you can hop on each of them.
Right. Throughout all these sessions, all the 7 sessions you would have seen, guys, in each of the sessions, we try to include, the demand that is growing for the job and the possible roles that are there. And, we would safely say that at this point of time in the evolution of internet, cyber, of all the domains that we saw so far, we saw a tremendous increase, exponential growth in the salaries offered and the demand and vacancies for the job. But, cybersecurity roles would top all of them right now. And even in the chat box right now, I've posted a link about bug bounty. So you don't actually have to have a job in some company. Even by doing bug bounty, you can just search about it after the session. People really earn in the millions of dollars by doing bug bounty. Yeah, moving on.
So these are topics that you guys can search further to know more about cybersecurity. We did talk a little about staying secure online. You can search more about it. And how do computers communicate? This again comes under basic networking that you can learn to get into cybersecurity. It's majorly networking. So once you learn a lot of networking, hacking and ethical hacking and such becomes more easier. And you can also look into how common hacks happen, such as credit card frauds and such.
Yeah, these are just some. So many of you guys were asking what security measures that we as individuals can, try to do on our end to stay away from some cybersecurity attacks. So just some browser extensions. So these are, again, in the beginning you saw, right, web-based attack and system-based attack. So for to stay safe from web-based attacks, these are some browser extensions that you can install on your browser, like web link checker, that will check every link that you click on, ad block, and yeah, it's basically self-explanatory. Minor block is one interesting one. I'm not sure how many of you have heard about cryptocurrency. We can have a session later on about that. So basically minor block is to deter miners from trying to use your computer as a resource for mining cryptocurrency. And yeah, moving on.
So if you wanna as we had a game We played the game and we also like learned few terms. We heard few stuff. So if you wanna, you're a person who is like into learning visually, I would suggest you go ahead with any of these because they're mostly about cybersecurity and hacking and other concept related to networking and stuff. So have a note of these and do watch it when you're free.
Yeah, just a collection of movies or series to watch in your free time, maybe.
So this is a part of the this is the part of the activity that we have made for today.
I think the audio is not there.
The
So
audio is not visible. Sorry, not audible.
yeah, it's not audible.
Okay, hold on.
So this is actually part of the activity that we have after the session, guys. So
Yeah, I hope the captions are visible at least. Yeah.
yeah, I've posted the link to the video as well. So just have a quick look and we'll be telling you the details about the activity soon. Actually, it's a bit blurry, so never.
Basic. So basic thing is that
You guys can, watch it after the session while you do the activity. So
let me give a little bit of an interface. Sorry, like an introduction to this game. So basically, this is a toy company that has been hacked. So it's you walk along through them on their journey on finding out how they were hacked and learning how they were vulnerable and such. So don't worry, we won't be talking about it in this session. We'll be giving it as a part of the activity.
Basically like fitting in all the pieces that we now learned or heard about the different roles, what they do, how they approach the problem and stuff.
When we played this game, we actually found this very informative because they go through each and every stages of finding out that they have been hacked and how they respond to it and where they check and such. Yeah, so we are open to questions if you guys have any.
meanwhile, let me just paste the links to the feedback form and the activity. I request every one of you to fill the feedback form and part of the activity as well. So any questions, guys, that you want us to answer? Share this PPT also so that will be a good future reference. Any other questions, guys?
So Harsh asks how to hack. I highly recommend hack the site. I know it does look a little bit suspicious when you go into it because it's such a it looks like an underdeveloped website with sketchy looking themes, but it is a very good website and I learned SQL injection and such in that website, and it starts off very simple, but as you go the levels get really hard, and it does get you through SQL injections, PHP, writing Linux command into the PHP, inputs and such. It does get very interesting. I would highly recommend that as the point where you get started with.
Yeah, how to use these Linux commands?
Yeah.
What
So
use of them in the future? Nothing.
Yeah, so as we already talked about, most of hacking involves computer networks and such, and most of our computer networks follow the same Unix shell and commands as your Linux OS. So if you learn to use your Linux through your command line and learn these commands, it would help you a lot to work with computer networks. So you have these extensive networks where all these routers and servers are run remotely, and you run these codes from somewhere, and these codes will run those servers. Now, these codes are all going to be, in Unix kernel using the commands that you use in Linux. So once you get used to the command line that is being used in Linux, it gets really simple when you have to learn hacking and when you have to learn to hack into systems and such, because networking comes into a huge play in that.
And if you want to have a real-time experience of working in Linux, the easiest option, because if it's about just Linux commands, I guess it'll even work in your Windows terminal. But then if you want a Linux feel, then probably you can use a VM, that is virtual machine, and you can install Linux, whichever version of Linux you want to use. Or the other way would be like dual booting your system, or the other way will be like booting with your pen drive, or such options that would also be useful if you want to have the feel of working in Linux.
Yeah, if you're ever skeptical about having two operating systems on your system. Maybe you don't want to do it, or your hardware does not, it's not that up to notch. Then you can just try using a virtual machine. You can download. There is a Oracle Virtual Box that you can download. Many virtual software that are there on which you can install any operating system you want to without affecting your physical system. Oracle VirtualBox is one good example for that, software for that. Any other questions, guys? And of course, we'll have the answer key and the leaderboard posted on our socials after the activity.
And the questions are mostly like based on what we discussed, so you don't have to feel if it's like too much of different level of questions. No, most of them are based on what we discussed, and few fun, interesting stuff, and few important things that you should be knowing. It's all about like that.
And yeah, CTFs are also a good place, but I wouldn't say that is a good place to start with, because sometimes it could be overwhelming to just jump into a competition without knowing how to go about it. So going for a platform that helps you learn first would be better, I would say. But if it's your way to jump right into a competition and learn the ropes along the way, you sure can do CTFs.
Any more questions? Yeah, I think there aren't any more questions. So if you have any more questions that you may get later on, feel free to post them on our socials, the WhatsApp group, the Discord channel, Instagram. You guys know the drill by now, so we'll make sure to get that clarified.
Yeah, and also, if you guys want, I'll show the one of the activities. I won't show the solution, obviously, but this is similar to the what we saw in the demo in Hack the Site. So this is the website. So you figure out the code from here for the first question, and there isn't much so answers in as you go, but the answer is there in these websites. So these are like the first two questions, I guess. Yeah.
You will have to right click and press inspect and
Yeah.
look at HTML.
Just knock yourself out, check everything out in the website, find something.
It'll be really interesting, guys.
Yeah, and it is quite simple. Don't worry about it. I hope you guys had fun. I wanted to make it more hands-on, but I wasn't sure how the level of HTML and stuff that people would have known. So I had to start with level 2. I would love it if you guys maybe like make it up to SQL injections or realistic missions and send me a message about it. I think I'm stuck in the Nazi web page, if I'm not wrong. I would love to have a help from somebody else.
Awesome. Yeah, we can definitely, try to arrange the next level sessions for these sessions guys, based on your feedback. So, yeah, I think that brings us to the end of today's session of Cybersecurity 101 and CS101 week as well. So that has been one roller coaster of a ride, I would say, not just for us, but for not just for you guys, but for us as well, trying to coordinate these events through through our busy schedules. And I should appreciate you guys also for joining. We got to know that you guys had your math and semester exam, unfortunately coinciding with these events. Don't worry. Let me just take this moment to thank each and every one of you, all the ACM members, I should say. Now you are official ACM members. Thank you for joining. Thank you for giving us the drive to conduct these sessions. Thank you for giving us the good feedback so that we know what we should be doing next. And it has been an awesome ride for us conducting these sessions. I thank Tarunika and Gomati for doing an amazing job of today's session. It was really interactive, and I'm sure everyone had a lot of fun, and at the same time they understood the basics of cybersecurity, and they're at a stage where they can explore on their own and get their hands dirty with it. So thank you once again, Tarunika and Gomati, for taking your time out and doing this session. It was a pleasure, and
thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity for letting us have this. I was actually looking forward to this a lot, because this is such an interesting domain to work on.
Exactly right. It's my pleasure. It's our pleasure from the team at ACM. And thank you, everyone. This brings us to the close of CS 101. But worry not, we will be having sessions in the future. maybe not continuously one after the other like this week, but spread out more evenly so that everyone can benefit from them. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all. It was really a nice experience.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Looking forward to having you guys at our future sessions. So stay tuned with the ACM.